Chapter 16 of the Shortstop. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Rowdy Delaney, Idaho, USA. The Shortstop by Zane Grey. Chapter 16. Last Innings. It was Wednesday, following the great Saturday game. Chase hurried to his room, where he had taken Mittie after the accident. He found the lad sitting up, a little wan, but bright and expectant. "All over, Mittie!" shouted Chase. "The season's over. The championship is ours. Today was the last game, and the directors made it a benefit for the team. Bully of them, wasn't it?" "No more'n square. The team's made barrels of money. What'd you do today?" "Oh, made Mac sore, as usual." "How?" "Well, we smothered Mansfield in an inning or so, and then Mac wanted us to lay down, strike out, make the game short. Now I'd have had to try to bing one, even if my life were threatened. So I caught one on the nose, and by George, Mittie, I hit it over the fence, and the ball broke a window in Mrs. McGee's house. Mac'll have to pay damages. Say, but wasn't he sore? That makes 6 homers for you, Chase, on our own grounds. And you've had 14 triples and only 3 doubles. It's strange about that. Most fellers get more doubles, but you're so dang fast on your feet that you'd stretch most any double into a triple. Gimme them long liner triples for mine." "Mittie, how are you feeling? How about the banquet tonight?" "I'll go, you bet. I'd be out home long ago if you hadn't made me promise to stay here." "Mittie, I've had some ideas working in my mind the last few days, and now everything's settled. You're going to live with me." "Am I?" began Mittie rebelliously. "Yes. I've got a tintype of myself spongin' off of you here." "Not here, Mittie. I've bought that white cottage in the maple grove by the river, and I've had it all fixed up. It's now ready for the furnishings. In a few days I'll write to Mother and Will to pack their duds and come on. Maybe we won't surprise them. You'll come out there and live with us. There's a dandy little room next to mine. It'll be yours. You like Will, and you love Mother. She's the sweetest " "I ain't a goin' to do it," cried Mittie in a queer, strangled voice. The old, resolute strength had gone from it. "Yes, you are. I'm big enough to carry you out there and tie you if necessary. And I've got another idea. You know that little alcove next to King's store? Well, there's one there. I've had a carpenter measure it, and he's going to build a wee little stand there. You and I are going into business. Cigars, tobacco, candy, etc. I furnish capital, you manage affairs, we divide profits. Why, it's a gold mine. There's not a place of that kind in town. Everybody knows you. Everybody wants to do something for you. Didn't you ever think of selling things? There's money in it." "Chase, it'd be grand," said Mittie. "I'll do it. Chase, if you ain't the best ever. But haven't you any idees for yourself?" Then Mittie Maru, the defiant, the Spartan lad, the sufficient unto himself, the scorner of emotions, the dweller in lonesome places, covered his face and sobbed as might any of the boys whom he ridiculed. But his weakness did not last long. "Chase, I'll be dinged if that soak I got in the game Saturday hasn't given me softenin' of the brain," he said, and smiled through his tears. Chase had seen the light of that smile in his mother's eyes, and in the eyes of another of whom he must not think. For a moment a warm wave thrilled over him, and he felt himself sway beneath its influence. He had done his best for his mother. He had done right by Marjory. He had waited and waited. So he made himself think of other things, of the new home, of peace for his mother, of ambition for Will, of companionship with Mittie, of his opening career. "Come on, Mittie. We have to fix up in style for the dinner tonight, and it's time we were at it." When they reached the hotel, Mac made a grab for Chase and beamed on him. "Chase, old boy, sure things are comin' great. Cas goes to Cleveland for a tryout. I've sold Benny to Cincinnati and you to Detroit." Burke offered 1,200 for you on Saturday, but I held out for 15, and I got the check tonight. I promised you 1/3 if you hit 400, and you've gone and hit 416. Chase, that's awful for a first season. You lead the league, and tomorrow you get your $500. Burke wrote me to tell you he'd send the contract. He offers 2,000. So you're on, and I'm tickled to death. I've made a star of you, and you've made me a manager." Somebody else grabbed for Chase. It was Judge Meggs, who congratulated him warmly. Then Chase, with Mittie Maru hanging to his coat sleeve, was deluged in a storm of felicitations. The banquet room, with its long decorated table, brought a yell from the hungry ball players. The waiters began moving swiftly to and fro. The glasses clinked musically. The noisy hum of conversation and jest grew steadily louder and gayer. There were 14 courses, and every player ate every course, except Benny, who got stalled on the unlucky 13th. Then chairs were shoved back and cigars lighted. Judge Meggs, who was toastmaster, rose and spoke for a few moments, congratulating Findlay on her great ball team, and the directors on their prosperous season, and the players on having won the championship. At the close he ended with a neat presentation speech. Then before each player was placed a large colored box with a fitting inscription on the lid. Chase's was 416. Enoch's was Mugg's Landing. Benny's was My Molly O. On Cass's was a terrible representation of a bulldog with the name Algy above, and below Cass's well-known "What?" And so on it went down the line. Inside the boxes were the purses, shares of benefit, presents from directors and from individuals. Chase won both hitting and base stealing purses, Cass the pitchers, Enoch the fielders. Each got a silver watch, a gold scarf pin, and link cuff buttons. Each got cards calling for an umbrella, a hat, a Morris chair, a box of candy. All received different presents from personal friends and admirers. Chase was almost overcome to find that Judge Meggs and other friends had that very morning furnished his cottage completely. Then the toastmaster interrupted the happy buzzings and called on Mac. The little manager bounced up with shiny face. He lauded Findlay and its generous citizens. He raved about the baseball team. He spouted over Cass and Benny, and almost ended in tears over Chase. "Gentlemen," said Judge Meggs impressively, "we have with us tonight a remarkable ball player and good fellow. He has captained the team with excellent judgment. He has been a great factor in our victory. We have expected much of him and have not been disappointed. We expect much of him tonight. For surely a man with his wonderful command of language, his startling originality of expression, and his powers of uninterrupted, flowing speech, such as we are all so happily familiar with, will give us a farewell word to cheer our hearts through the long winter to come. Gentlemen, Mr. Enoch Winters." Enoch rose as if some subterranean force had propelled him. His round red face and round owl eyes had their habitual expression of placid wisdom, but Enoch had difficulty with his vocalization. "Gentlemen," he began, and then it was evident his voice frightened him. "This, you see," he stammered, rolled up his tongue into his cheek to find his never failing quid this time failing him. "Great honor. Sure, we 'preciate." Then the voluble coacher, the bane of pitchers and umpires, the terror of the inexperienced, stammered that something was too full for words, and sat down. Whether he said stomach or heart no one knew, but all assumed he meant the latter, and roared their applause. Judge Meggs, with a few fitting words, called upon Castorious, and Cas, of the iron arm, iron heart and voice, could not establish relations between his mind and his speech. Judge Meggs said, Gentlemen, we want to hear from our great second baseman, who, we are sorry to say, and happy also, will not be with us